episode 62. We are going to start talking about topics from now on, and we're going to take it from there. Okay, so I'm going to start with just what the title says, fear in dog training. And then if you guys have any questions during or at the end, feel free to chime in, and or just give me your thoughts or whatever, and then we will take it from there. But first, I must address this. Uh, there has been a trainer in Wisconsin that is under large scrutiny because they sent home a dog that had holes in the neck so that they had to take it to the vet, get it drained, put the dog under, all this kind of crazy crap. Two big holes. So I must, because I'm a dog trainer in Wisconsin, I must address this. I feel responsible. I feel obligated because I have to obviously always advocate for the tools that I use. And I want to make sure that anytime there is bad press or news about a crazy situation when it involves tools that I use, we must speak up and speak out and make sure that people stay educated because I already, hi Pat, how are you? I already have seen backlash of posts from trainers, not even, or from people not even from Wisconsin. Look, these anti e-collar people and adversive tool people can't wait to find out that there could be some misuse. Good evening. Um, cheers to you. They can't wait to jump on the opportunity to bash e-collars and trainers who use those e-collars. So I must address this issue. Okay. Now, let's talk about the situation. Good. I'm glad you guys are watching. Let's see. So, okay, the situation that happened with the e-collar and the dog trainer. Again, dog got sent home with two holes in their neck. It was a Weimaraner, and so they are prone to sensitive skin. Okay, and when you leave a tool on too tight for too long, it can start to create holes and or abrasions of some sort in the neck. Okay, so I always try and tell people, give the dog's neck a break, usually at night or whatnot, so that the dog's neck can breathe. It is important that the e-collar be tight, but make sure the e-collar is not left on for more than 24 hours, 12 hours. Okay, make sure you keep an eye on the dog because it can happen. All right, if moisture gets in there, and if their neck doesn't have room to breathe, and breaks to breathe, then that stuff can happen. It can happen with any collar that's too tight, that's on for too long. So, again, it looks, from the pictures of it, it looks like the e-collar was a wide one. And it looks like it was an old school e-collar, right? So that means to me that this trainer could possibly be an older trainer, an older hunting dog trainer. Okay. And I don't know too much, but that's just what I've evaluated from what I saw. And the information that I've gathered from other sources. So, again, the breed can have some skin sensitivity when it comes to certain metals, which brings up another good point. some dogs are allergic to metals, and that can also result into that bad situation. So staying up to date with the certain types of innovations that come with the all tools is very important. I can't stress that enough. I always want to be on the side, or not the side, but just I always want to be up to date is what I'm saying, and I don't think this trainer was up to date as far as the tools that are out there accessible to us. Regardless of that, hi Jody. Regardless of that, the dog should not have had the collar on for that long. Maybe this guy failed to take it off when the owner if the owner brought the dog in with that collar and the dog was showing aggression. Now that I can understand. Okay, here's the deal. Again, there's no real excuse to leave a collar on for that long. But if you work with very aggressive, hi Francis, how are you? If you work with aggressive, fearful dogs, then they may not let you take off certain collars. So it is then kind of paramount that maybe you let the owners take the collar off, because I don't even order e-collars until after the first week of dog training, because I train the dogs to do what I want them to do before the e-collar comes, and so that it can be a smooth transition. But some of the dogs I can't really handle in the way that with taking collars, in regards to taking collars off and on, until 2 or 3 or 4 days. Some dogs just will be like, no, I'm gonna bite the heck out of you. So I can kind of see that situation, because I did learn that the dog is aggressive. So again, very, very bad situation. And it always just stay active, stay on top of things when it comes to certain tools that we use. Hold on, Christine. I'll get to your question or statement in a minute here. I'm gonna have to reload this so that I can see it, because on the phone it only lets me see a portion of the question. Okay, let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. That was plain old abuse and neglect, misuse of tools. Benny the Weimaraner and is the Weimaraner, and we've used the e-collar for 3 years now, and with no issue or injury. Ben is aggressive. 7 reported bites, as you know, not so much as a bent neck hair. Well, I agree with you on that. I definitely think it was neglect. But again, my whole main focus, and I'll stop talking about this after a while so we can get to the topic. But my whole main focus is that when someone misuses a tool, and especially if it's a trainer out around in Wisconsin, most importantly, if it's a local trainer, then I definitely feel obligated to speak out about it, so that people don't get the wrong idea moving forward that e-collar, they won't be apprehensive about using the e-collar. And because there are tons of trainers who vote against it. They want to get them banned. I mean, they're constantly trying to get it banned all around the world, and it is our responsibility as trainers who do use those to make sure we are spreading good, responsible training out there with these tools to help educate people that they aren't good or bad tools, right? So anyway, let's get to the topic at hand. We want to talk about fear in dog training. Okay, so I want to go ahead and first start off with sort of from my experience talk about the whole myth. There's tons of people that come to me and say dogs can sense your fear. Okay. And I want to go ahead and say I don't really agree with that statement. Okay. Um, yes, maybe your body gives off certain hormones. Hey, EJ, how are you? Maybe your dog gives off certain, or excuse me, your body gives off certain hormones. Maybe there's some sort of chemical change. Maybe blah, blah. But I will have to tell you that I do not, when I work with these dogs, go without being fearful. No way, Jose. He started whining when he heard your voice. I hope that's a good thing. He's in this place and apparently says hi also. Good. Um, that's good. I just got another dog in, another German Shepherd named Jax. He's a puppy. So I had to tell the owner that I just trained a German Shepherd named Jack. So anyway, uh, yeah, I definitely think dogs cannot smell fear necessarily. Okay, but what the better sort of thing to think about is what's associated when you are in a fearful mindset. How do you display that? Well, you display that with your body language, right? And I can tell you for certain that dogs are masters of reading your body language. Okay, so your fear, if it is projected by your body language, that is what dogs are sensing. Period. All right. What happens when you're a little fearful? You stiffen up, and you tend to keep your eye on whatever you're fearful of. So if you're making eye contact with a fearful dog and you're stiff, they're probably going to react in a fearful way. Yeah, and I have to even tell owners sometimes to relax. I do a lot of talking in. So, for example, when folks drop their dogs off to me, right? I usually lean up against something, or I usually can be on my phone, or I usually just keep the conversation rolling. Anything to sort of continue to just not be stationary, right? And within 3 or 4 minutes, the dog that came out the car barking his head off at me, I can now take the leash because the dog came up to me and checked me out, and I'm not staring at him. I'm not standing there stiff. I don't stop talking when the dog comes up to me. So I usually can help the dog relax just by talking to the owner, and it also helps the owner relax as well. But you know, it definitely relaxes my body language as well. Okay, okay. So again, I'm not without fear when I train dogs. That's not. Let's not get that. Let's not get that confused, twisted. When I train dogs, some dogs make my damn hair stand up, man. They give me chills. It's like, whoa, this is a big freaking dog, or So I think that's a myth that dogs can smell it. I just think that they're masters at recognizing your body language. My dog, my dog Tide, Belgian Malinois, scheduled to come to you in a month and a half this weekend. He bit another person. Uh-oh, that I know because I was trying to socialize him more since he's been doing better lately. I'm pretty sure that was a dumb move on my part, but should I buy a muzzle and still continue to try and socialize them? Um, a muzzle wouldn't be a bad thing, but more so than this, I was telling someone, and this is a great question. I was telling someone today on the phone, make sure this happens 100% before you add certain things that make your dog fearful. When I say sit down, go to your bed, um, just those three things right there. Before you start introducing your dog to those things, to people, make sure your dog actually does those things with sort of 100% consistency. Okay, because there's no way, and because this is what happens when you do that, is that it opens up a whole channel of things to sort of seep into, um, and that is, you know, change and positive change and new things and new perspectives. So make sure your dog is obedient with you before you actually ask your dog to be obedient amongst things that make them fearful. Because there ain't no way, if you're not consistent with those three things, or things around the house, that they're gonna actually even take your word for it in the slightest bit when there's something around that makes them nervous. Okay, and allowing them to, or sort of making them listen to you with those small things, really again opens up, some, then trust is also allowed to be built, and that's more important than anything when you want to help your dog see things differently, in a different light. So that's what I kind of told people. And again, you know, another rule with socialization goes with me with people, is that it doesn't matter how, you know, far away a person is. This could be this could be this could be, the first session with me, a dog that I'm working with that's human aggressive, and another person. I could be 15 feet away from that person, and and with the dog right beside me, and the dog never go up to that person. A, because it doesn't want to, or A, because I don't feel comfortable in it doing so, or B, because I don't feel comfortable doing that. But that could be a first good step. Just hanging out, not even getting close enough to bite someone. You know what I'm saying? He says he was in a heel on my left side and sitting with 100% focus on me. The guy on my right moved too real quick, and he got a hold of his left hand. So I doubt this, though. Right? Okay. So few things have to happen there that I would change. Your dog should have been on a short leash. That's it. And you got to know, you got to learn your dog's trigger. Maybe you did or did not know this. Now you know, of course. But when people get up, it makes them nervous. And you always have to watch his eye. But his 100% focus, um, is not what I'm worried about. Not 100% focus, right? So I don't ever ask for a dog's attention. And I'm not speaking specifically to you, Patrick. I'm speaking in general, because there are a lot of people who are watching this and will watch this. So if I'm speaking, I'm going to address you in specifically, but I also want to cover some generalities so that people can also learn. So again, when I want a dog's attention, I don't care about their attention. I care about what they're actually doing, right? Because I want them to be able look, not stare, but look at what they're afraid of, and be able to correct any ill thoughts, which would be the staring. You know what I mean? So leash. And again, the dog should not have been that close enough for the dog to actually lunge. Now, here's the other side to that. The dog also has to receive a consequence in that regard that is strong enough for the dog to rethink their action. That dog still thought it was okay to do that, and that's something that you may or may not know how to achieve, which is what the training's for. And I may not be able to tell you that because I don't have your dog with me yet. So, but that's what your dog ultimately has to learn. Your dog ultimately has to learn that it is not okay to not listen to me, So you can have a dog that listens but also doesn't listen. But you got to have a dog that thinks it's not okay to not listen to you and not ever think it's okay to do that behavior ever again. Um, and again, you know, the level at which that consequence is depends on the dog. It could be a very low level, but some dogs also need a very high level. Um, when you're working with working dogs, there are some very sensitive working dogs, and there are some very hard working dogs. So I will only be able to really tell you that once I get the dog. But for future, if you want to, yeah, go ahead and maybe buy a muzzle, but also keep the daggum dog on leash so that the dog cannot do that. Doesn't have the ability to put its teeth in someone. Okay. But thank you for your question. Hmm. Okay. Let's see. Um, I was asking about this about a couple of weeks ago in a dog group. Like, how does a dog tell when you're fearful or anxious? The dog, since dogs, since dog emotions can be different than our own. My dog gets on better with people ignoring him and focusing more on me than those who get excited and focus more on him. I'm not sure what you mean by that. My dog gets on better, gets along maybe, uh, better with people ignoring him and focusing more on me than those who get excited and focus more on him. Yeah, okay, now I get it. Yeah, that's a lot of fearful dogs. You know, some dogs just can't handle it. Some dogs can, some dogs can't. You know, some dogs can handle the whole when you know the people who are like when they see a dog they must touch, they must hug, they must make weird noises and you know that good stuff. Um, but some dogs just really can't and don't want to handle a stranger putting all that pressure on them. So you're going to have fun with them. This is the first 9 month old chocolate foster male. I usually kennel him when I go to the grocery or shower. But if I go out in the garage or upstairs where he can't go, he cries and barks. The pet convincer has been great for him jumping at the window, but how do I correct the garage? Have you tried the pet convincer? The pet convincer, if it works in the garage, I mean, if it works for the jumping, it may work in the garage, but you may just have to go in the garage, correct him, and then leave him in the garage. You know, it's just like I had a person call me and said, when I let my dog out, all he does is scratch at the window. And I said, then what do you do? And she goes, well, I let him in because obviously he doesn't want to be outside. And then he poops and pees in my house. And I'm like, okay, so the next time he's outside and he starts that scratching stuff, open the door, give him a correction, shut the door. What's that?
Question.
What's the question? I got the question. Oh, I didn't see. I don't see that.
It's on the
Messenger?
no, it's on the post about the show.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. I guess I got another big question. Here we go. Question from Nicole. Thank you for providing so much information on social media. It is a great help. We have a rescue beagle that we've had for almost a year. We are struggling with some separation anxiety. He is now fine for 8 hours during our normal work day, sleeps kenneled at night in a separate bedroom, and practices placed throughout our house. Around 6 months of having him, we've worked with a vet for holistic non-med remedies, and that's when we first had our 8 hour 6. Now we are struggling with leaving at non-work time hours like for dinner. We can leave in the car and he does fine as well. He is currently left while confined to our room. For 5 months, we only left him in a kennel and had no success. Then left him on our bed and had moderate success until visiting the vet and had more success. We would prefer kennel, but we were desperate for something to work. Wondering if you have any training recommendations or any other ideas. Okay. So let me just try and figure out if I think I gotta read it again. We're struggling with some separation anxiety. He is now fine for hours during our normal work day. Sleeps again. Okay. Around 6 months of having him, we worked with a vet for holistic remedies, and that's when we first had our 8 hour success. Now we are struggling with leaving at non-working hours like dinner, like for dinner. We can leave in the we can leave him in the car and he does fine. He is currently left while confined to our room. For 5 months, we only left him in a kennel and had no success. Okay, so if you want to have success in the kennel with him, real quick, you're going to have to teach him how to be calm in the crate. Okay, there's a good video I have about that, and I've talked about this many times. Also, there's a really good post if you scroll down a couple of posts. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I posted a good post about separation anxiety and how to fight that. But more importantly, his your dog's behavior in the kennel is going to be um, very important, that you really, really keep that place a calm place. So in order to do that, you may have to kennel him more while you're home. Okay, so that you can get a chance to correct his behavior in the kennel, because I'm sure he will give you a little bit of anxiety while you're there in the crate. And so I encourage you to just read that post that I have. Again, you just scroll down a couple of posts and you should be able to see it. But that's going to be pretty much the key. Make sure he's calm in the crate while you're home, so he can learn to be calm in this. He can learn that that's a calm place for certain. Okay, so the only time if a dog's in the crate is when you're gone. More chances are that he can get into some bad behavior. All right. Thank you for your question. Okay. So okay, I've ran out of questions here, but I'll go back to. I really also want to talk about if the dog experiences fear when in dog training. You know, that's something that's also sort of uh, stigmatized. It sort of has a negative association to it. Does the dog get intimidated while training? And of course, you know, when I train dogs, I am definitely not without fear, but I would say yes, the dog is also fear. Uh, there is also fear that comes from dog training. Of course, there is. 100%. And not that that's a good thing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because if we just talk about fear in dogs, or we just talk about fear in general in humans, sometimes the things that scare us the most are the most beneficial to us. So, I went to the vet. I had this dog that I worked with named Buddy, who did awesome, by the way. We were able to give the dog blood work. We were able to give the dog the shots it needed. And previous to the training, would bark and bite at anybody who even came close. Um, so anyway, the dog was definitely a fearful dog, and sometimes when learning, hi Lise, how are you? Sometimes when you learn new things, You are not without fear. Okay. So fear is, I don't want to, you know, uh, make it okay that dogs are fearful. All right. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there isn't going to be learning, um, especially if a dog is fearful. There's not going to be good learning without the dog being fearful. They're definitely fearful of me. That's why they try to bark at me or bite when they first see me. They are scared. And that's training, though, because we're training the dog to sort of go through that fear and see that the fear that you're experiencing is not going to work or not necessary. Okay, so um, if the question is, do dogs um, are dogs fearful when they train with me? Are dogs Do dogs experience fear when they train with me? And absolutely they do. I'm not afraid to say that or admit that 100%. The thing that you do want to then ask me or evaluate is if the dog leaves that way. Then you know I'm not doing something right. Right? Because again, you guys, we're dealing with dogs, we're dealing with animals from all sorts of levels of fear. So it's not even that, and I only have 3 weeks with them. It's not even that far of a stretch to say, some dogs are totally without fear by the time they leave my training. I would hope that they are. I want to get them to that point, but some dogs are so ingrained in their fearful habits that 3 weeks is just not enough. Um, so So going back to the whole vet thing, now I remember what I was talking about and why I brought up the vet. The that there, uh, vet told me that there was a, um, what do you call them, vet assistant that was trained in a non uh, fearful dog dog handling. So basically, the no fear way of handling dogs. And I was like, all right, well, here, take the leash then, and and show me what you've learned. You know, I some of the things are just ridiculous. What some people come up with as far as their training method because it sounds good. Training a dog without fear and intimidation is very attractive, but not realistic. Okay, I am from the school of thought that I'm going to be as realistic as I can, because I want to keep it as simple, and I want to be able to connect with my clients as much as possible. So I'm scared. The damn dog's scared. We're both scared. It's like when I first met my wife, she scared me. Um, we didn't know each other. She scared me. She still does scare me, but still, I'm just saying, when you are starting a relationship, no matter whether it's with your dog or not, because you don't know each other, there's going to be some fear there. So let's stop trying to uh, come up with these catchy, whatever they are, to try and go around certain issues. I'm not one of those trainers who try and come up with different ways to go around the problem. I'm going to do my best to address exactly what I feel is going to be best for the dog and help them learn the quickest and or the easiest. So those are my thoughts on fear in dog training. It goes both ways. Non-fear. The vet assistant was trained in a non-fear approach. Oof, Jesus. What does that mean? Okay. We're at a friend's house with my dog, Gibbs. He's tired from playing and fell asleep on their floor. A friend of mine was in the basement and came upstairs. When he came upstairs, he startled Gibbs. Gibbs ran at him and barked. Then he was fine with my friend. We've seen him startled this way when he wakes up in these types of situations, somewhere new or someone new. We understand he's scared. Is there a way to alter this behavior? It's only times when he's not on a place cot, such as when we are at a friend's house or when he's chilling on our floor and friends are staying in the guest room and comes down and surprises him. Thanks in advance for suggestions. All right, Jim. Let's see. So, a couple of things. Um, I would say the dog has to learn how to deal with that impulse in a different way, which means you should correct it. He shouldn't think it's okay to go at people when he's startled. And I've definitely helped dogs through that. But you should be able to correct that behavior because it is a behavior and it's a choice that he's making. The dog can choose to deal with his fear by going to place, and I think that's would be more productive. So you have to, if you want to help that situation. Um, I would correct or set up the scenario while he's sleeping. Other, and so I'm going to go on about this a little bit, but while he's sleeping, you should be there, present, ready and willing to um, to correct him if he decides to do that. If you're not ready and willing, then put the dog in the crate or put the dog on place. All right, but if you want to get it, if you want to help it, then you have to set it up right. You sort of have to wait until he falls asleep on the floor, like you mentioned, and have someone new or something like that, and then have the ability to correct him when he gives you that behavior, and then guide him right away back to his place or cot. That's what I would do. Okay, but again, if you're not that, if you don't have the ability to be there, and don't have the ability to address it, then he should be in his place or a cot where or in the crate where he can't display that behavior, as opposed to allowing him to knowing his trigger and then allowing him to have the opportunity to do that and you not be there to address it. So there you go. That's my solution. Thank you for your question. My dog will go in her crate when we wash our dishes or put them away. It seems that the noise of them clinking scares her. How do we help her get over that? Put the place in the kitchen, and then make sure she stays in her place while you're doing that. Okay, give that a shot for anytime you're doing the dishes, and see what you get. All right. Thank you for your question. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on fear in dog training? I mean, like I said, fear is a natural thing. It's a natural thing for a dog. It's a survival thing for everyone. It's a natural thing for us too. If nothing ever scared us, then life would be pretty daggone boring. And if we never did anything that scares us, how boring would we be? So learning involves fear until they understand. Now, again, I reiterate, if the dog doesn't come to a standpoint of understanding, then you are doing something wrong. And the dog then will stay in fear. But you have to be able to obviously read the dog and know when to give and know when to stand your ground. Okay, so that's that. If you guys have any last questions or statements about what we discussed today, feel free to ask me. You can ask me now, or you can ask me later. But I do feel very strongly on both of those subjects. I don't go without fear when training dogs, and the dog does not go without fear when I'm training him. But the goal is to alleviate that on both parties. And by the end, with 90% of the dogs that I train, I'm without fear at the end, and so is the dog. Okay. So, all right, folks. We will end it on that note. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. Sorry. One last question, guys. Let's see. Have you ever had a dog come to your board and train that you couldn't fix? I don't like that word fix. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't like fix. Okay, but I never had a dog that came to my board and train that didn't get better. Okay, that's what I'm going to say, and that's what I will guarantee, that your dog will get leaps and bounds better, and you will have the ability, and I will show you that he has the ability to do what you think the dog can't do. That's what I can provide you. All right. I'm excited, Patrick. We're going to get it. Jeremy, what vet tech? Purely positive training, as in no corrections ever. That vet tech, purely positive training, as in. Yeah, that's, well, it was the vet tech, right? But the vet was all about it because the vet experienced that dog before training. And I've worked with this vet many times, and they recommend they recommend me to a lot of people and whatnot. But you know, at the end of the session with the dog, or the end of the appointment with the dog, the vet said, "Can we have, like," she told me, "Can we have a copy of you just to hang around here?" So obviously, what I did there, left a good impression. But the purely positive training methodology, is something that may hurt certain dogs. Not may, does hurt certain dogs, in my opinion. But you know me, I don't really like getting into, I'll never bash another trainer. But I'll just be real with you. I don't think certain methodologies are good for every dog. And I would be as bold to say that purely positive doesn't work for any dog. I don't care if the dog is perfect. Okay, no dog goes without boundaries. No behavior goes without boundaries. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say that every dog needs boundaries. Boundaries is not congruent with purely positive training. All right, they purely positive trainers aren't even purely positive to what they explained as. Most of the purely positive trainers, their description for how they train, they don't even go without telling the dog no. They don't say the word no, but they, in a way, tell the dog no. And I'll give you a perfect example. When there's tension on the leash, that is an aversive, non-purely positive technique. So them dogs better not ever have tension on the leash. Otherwise, they cannot call themselves purely positive, because that is a correction. That's a correction when there's tension on the leash. So can't fool me, and I don't want them to fool the public. Anyway, let's get out of here. Give me a thumbs up or a heart if you liked it. If you didn't like it, tell me you didn't like it. But I hope you guys again had a very wonderful Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys next Thursday. Peace.